This scene just moments ago out west in Los Angeles, a protester and you see a policeman kneeling together. Thankfully, we're seeing that scene played out all across the country. That's in LA. Now we want to talk more tonight about America at the boiling point. You know, how we got here. 3 deadly incidents involving African Americans making national headlines. And we're talking about in the last month, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. Say their names. Now you add to that the stress of the coronavirus pandemic. You add that to it. Also the lockdowns, the loss of 40 million American jobs. Well, the hard truth is we have been here before with the loss of black lives. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
Well, you got him down, man. Let him breathe, least, man.
For black Americans, it's felt like the knee of racism has been choking the necks of black people for more than a century. Jim Crow, housing discrimination, racial profiling. Watching the images of George Floyd die under the weight of that knee only underline how many black Americans see their place.
I think we all Shut up.
We saw that the officer had no emotion whatsoever, and we literally saw the life sucked out of George Floyd as he was on that ground under the knee of the police officer.
In the months before the death of George Floyd, the death of a black American in Georgia, whose family says he was jogging. Then in New York Central Park, the dispute over a dog off its leash turned racial when a white woman calls police and pretends she's being threatened.
There is an African-American man. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog.
Every time a white person does that, they could actually get that black person killed by the police. That's the reality of it. That's why there's this boiling point, because people are like, enough of this, enough of this, enough of this.
People in this country who've never experienced or had to seriously discuss racial injustice are talking about those issues tonight because of these pictures from the streets of America. The amount of anger and violence is overwhelming to the heart and mind. And while to many it feels brand new on this national level, in 1968, Americans watched as riots tore through cities after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Dad would not have wanted it to happen this way, but over 100 cities, over 100, went up in flames. When people are frustrated and have no outlet and have lost hope, that is what happens.
Black Americans have not always been the ones rising up in anger. Nearly 100 years ago this very week, black families in Tulsa, Oklahoma were massacred in what was then the wealthiest black community in America. And it all started after a black shoe shine was accused of assaulting a girl who was 17 years old and white.
Don't talk to us about looting. Y'all are the looters. America has looted black people. America looted the Native Americans when they first came here. So looting is what you do. We learned it from you. We learned violence from you. So if you want us to do better, then damn it, you do better.
It's the policing of black Americans that hits the nerve.
The smoke has just started.
The riots after the beating of Rodney King in 1992. And more recently in Ferguson, Missouri, Michael Brown, where I was there.
I am literally shaking. I am so appalled.
And in Baltimore, too, where Freddie Gray died and parts of the city burned.
What are your thoughts on what black Americans in particular are saying in these protests?
We seem to be going through the same kind of things over and over and over again. There are sores of racism that seems to be festering, and they never heal because these wounds open those sores right back up.
I heard someone saying on TV today that it feels like every black person in America is being hunted. That's how we feel.
It's not just about George Floyd. This is actually following a number of other issues that have been impacting the African American community specifically.
We are in the middle of the pandemic of COVID-19 that is having a disproportionately negative effect on the African American population. And then there are so many reminders of the pandemic of racism. And I think the incident in Minneapolis then was the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Add all of that to the hurt and anger after the killings of Trayvon Martin, Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, all leading to the outrage in the streets tonight.
We're talking about what has happened to people like Sean Bell, Eric Garner, Amadou Diallo, who was shot at 41 times, to the point where Bruce Springsteen made a song called 41 Shots about Amadou Diallo.
41 shots, it will take that ride.
This time, the protest and outrage isn't just marching through black and brown communities, and their faces look like all corners of America. They're on Main Street, outside the White House. These Americans are forcing the tough conversations, and it's not always easy to watch.
I certainly think that there is some awakening happening within segments of white America that perhaps have hit the snooze button, on previous incidents. We saw Eric Garner and we hit the snooze button. Philando Castile, we hit the snooze button. But, it's sort of like that snooze button on the alarm clock. Eventually, we all get out of bed.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.